How did you, Russell Brand? There's some guys that if they do something, they're out of show business, something bad.
Yeah.
Not bad, but you know what I mean, something controversial. And yet, every step of the way, it seemed to have propelled your career further upward. Like there's the famous story about at MTV the day after 9/11, you showed up dressed as Osama bin Laden.
That was
For most people, that would not be a
well, you got to remember
career boost.
At that time, I was on crack and heroin. I would never show such disrespect to the victims of terror now, particularly given what's happened today. But crack and heroin do change your perspective on subjects. And I was just always have been fascinated by that, as we all are, by, you know, when there are these acts of mass consciousness, when everyone is drawn together and our attention is all being aligned by events in Boston today, and we feel that mortality on a larger scale, not on a personal scale, but on a social scale, and that fear of the disruption that is always present, the potential for that disruption. When I was on drugs, I didn't have much sophistication around that fascination. I used to just sort of feel kind of, I don't know, a visceral sense of wanting to engage with it, and I was kind of daft, you know, kind of daft.
But it didn't hurt you though.
Well, I mean, they sacked me from that job, but it's just, in a way, I'm a very persistent person. So, like, when I got sacked from that job, I did not long after that, I stopped taking drugs. I got sacked from all of my jobs because of similar conduct, bringing homeless people to smoke crack with me on my radio show. You know, I was doing that kind of thing all the time. I was just like, because that's where I was most at home, was among drug addicts and prostitutes and stuff.
And that's right around the time you got sober. Around that time.
Yeah, I was forced to go into treatment because my life was radically capsizing. I was told that, you know, that I was 6 months away from jails, institutions, and death. They said, you're going to be in prison and mental asylum or dead within 6 months if you carry on in this fashion.
I feel they're just guessing.
Yeah, I mean, how could they actually know? Because if you could see the future, I also think that the Kentucky Derby will be won by.
We actually have a story about someone that can tell the future, an Iranian businessman. But we need to take a quick break.
We do.
We have commercials, even though this is the internet.
Well, it is. We actually.
And we have no sponsors.
We don't get. Yeah, we have no sponsors.
In that case, I'll take up this commercial break. Perhaps you might like to buy some of the stuff that's in my garage. I've got this exercise bike I don't need. $10 about there or thereabouts. If you want me to come around your house, I offer Russell Brand sex techniques. I've been offering Norm some tips, and I can offer those tips to you. It's a reasonable price, $5. Just
like playing pool with a rope with me.
That'll be all right. Eventually, you could lasso the balls, tug them into the pockets.
Good Lord, now he's got me with balls. So what do we do? We want to
take a break. Yeah.
Back with the brilliant Russell Brand. Now, Russell, I don't watch your movies. I've never seen one of your movies because I don't leave my apartment. However, your stand-up is fantastic. Are you primarily a stand-up?
Yes.
Oh, great.
That's what I prefer to do.
Oh, great.
It's a job.
Because you're amazing stand-up. Just unbelievably good.
Oh, thanks. That's really kind of
I
you.
think you're the best British. I don't think there are any other British stand-ups.
There are some really good ones.
Oh, are there?
Yes.
Who are they?
Eddie Izzard is really good, isn't he? Billy Connolly, British.
I like Billy Connolly. You know what I like about Billy Connolly? I met him. This is what I like about Scottish guys. They're so excited about things, and they make me feel cynical and jaded. So Billy Connolly, I was living in Beverly Hills, and he had just moved there for some television show. And there's a place called the Beverly Center. Do you know that place?
I know that.
Yeah, it's a mall. So he goes, Norm. I'm like, yes. He goes, have you been to the Beverly Center? And I'm like, yeah, I was there. He goes, you go to the top, there's a food court. You can eat Japanese food. Yeah. Then you walk across, and there's some Argentinian. And like it was the most amazing thing. Meanwhile, he's best friends with the king. Is there a king anymore? No.
There's not been a king for over half a century.
Oh. This is what I was wondering. You know, and here you're kind of I don't know if you're a punk rock kind of a guy or what you are, but you don't seem to have much use for authority. Now, Egypt has the Egypt Spring, and they're like, we got to get rid of this guy. He owns half the money in the country. I mean, right? Let's get together on Facebook and we'll storm the palace. I feel in England, the people here in this room could get in there and take. The Queen has all the money.
She's got a lot of money, hasn't she?
She's the richest woman in the world.
Her face is literally daubed across the money. What are you suggesting? Some sort of revolution from members of the Commonwealth and a few Americans?
I'm wondering why it's never happened, or if it will happen.
I think because there's an element of socialism in British culture to this day, even post-Thatcher, that acts as a valve to stop unrest reaching fever pitch and stop people storming Buckingham Palace, because you get given some sort of tidbit, some bit of bread or circuses. Yeah, I'll put that on the television. You know, you get a nice royal wedding every so often, and it don't matter how cynical you are, or anarchic, or revolutionary you are. When you see like a royal wedding, sort of pageantry is very evocative. Ritual is very effective. Where these things get in our heads. A little bit. I have to really train myself not to go, oh, God bless you, Mum. Or like sort of like Lady Diana. I got well swept up in all of that whole phenomenon. She's all gentle and doe-eyed. I could get caught up in it.
Well, it's because of her prettiness.
Yeah, but they reappropriated that prettiness. Just like a woman, sexy woman drinking Coca-Cola. You want the sexy woman, but you think you want the Coca-Cola.
Oh, so, I want the Coke. I'd like to have a fucking Coke right now.
All right, yeah, you're the other way around.
My grandmother...
We could get you to breed by tipping Coca-Cola all over someone's ovaries.
Is there a Coke anywhere?
Look at it, it's out of control. Is there some ovaries somewhere as well?
My grandmother...
Someone just released some eggs into the air.
My grandmother, who grew up in the rock-hard soil of rural Ontario in a town by the name of Moose Creek. We were a colony.
Moose, that's really Canadian. Creek, pretty Canadian. Yeah. Moose Creek.
But she, never saw a good meal in her life that she didn't have to chop a chicken's head off to make.
Wow.
But I remember one time, there was a news story that the Queen of England had to take a pay cut. And by God, my grandmother, what'll Lizzie do? What explains that? What explains that?
Well, I suppose a royal has been designated as God's anointed representative on earth, much the same as a pope. So you place their well-being and their safety and their significance above your own. I mean, in a way, it's a useful metaphor, isn't it? Because otherwise you're taking your own life seriously, your own frailties, your own flaws, getting stuck in traffic and irritated. If you can just focus on the majesty of the Queen, the splendour, the pageantry, rolling down a red carpet and whatnot, it makes you feel like, oh, at least that's all okay. So the idea of that being attacked is almost like God's potency has somehow been diminished.
And what do you make of the people that are in this position, the Pope or the Queen or the Dalai Lama? Do they believe it?
Well, I met that
Or are they willing to go along with
I like him.
The Dalai Lama?
I met the Queen briefly, very briefly. You could see the look in her eyes was of a woman like, I'm getting fucking past this geezer, double quick. So I'm going to the next bloke. The next bloke was James Blunt. He'd worked for the Queen, so she couldn't get there quick enough. Remember James Blunt?
B-L-O-U-N-T?
You're beautiful, Blunt. Although he was used as rhyming slang for a while in our country, but like he is a Royal Guards person, so like she was like, oh, he's safe to talk to. Me, she didn't stick around with. But I met that Dalai Lama. Now I think for all people in positions of authority and power, the true power is to serve. True authority is to serve. True leadership is to serve. So people that are in positions of privilege and then don't serve, I think that's corruption. So I'm not really down with the Pope or the Queen or any of them. Dalai Lama.
But the Dalai Lama was born the Dalai Lama, right?
Yes, he was. Because
Explain to the folks at home how he was chosen.
What happens is, if you, like the Dalai Lama, one dies, you've got a Dalai Lama, he dies, you've broken one, now you've got to get another one. So the most prominent monks of the Tibetan Buddhist community all come together, meditate by a sacred lake and do some ritualistic burnings, and they are led by smoke and by dreams to where the new Dalai Lama will reincarnate. They go to the village and they talk to all the boys that have been born that are aged between 0 and 2. They take with them artifacts that belonged to the previous Dalai Lama. In the case of the current Dalai Lama, they took a walking stick and I think some kind of shirt or something, and apparently the new Dalai Lama Plus, this time it's personal, see that walking stick and say, I'll have that. Like, it was on it like a bonnet. Bang, give us that, that's mine. Like, and they went, oh, here he is, Dalai Lama's back. So then they take him off, they inculcate him in the ways of Buddhism and that. And
now, yet, if I said that in a child abduction hearing...
He recognised this stick. I seemed very happy to make its acquaintance. I did all I could. Just give me back Gerald.